Hello, g'day. I hope you're well. Thank you for listening. This is a medical cannabis show, and I respect the law, and I hope you do too. And today's discussion is on pathogens and microbe problems. And that's mainly due to a paper that was just released where it goes into a bit of detail about the cannabis pathogen and viral problems that exist and have some really cool photos. So I thought even just the photos alone are worthwhile for people just to print out and to put around, because of the 100-odd pathogens and viruses that have been picked up in cannabis. There's quite easily visual signs, I suppose. So that's what today's was mainly all about. And there's some other bits and pieces too, which is pretty cool, I thought. So I'll wait for another minute, to give it till 2 minutes for a few people if they want to arrive. So if you'd like to skip through, you're welcome. I'll start it then. And hello to Blinky. Hope you're doing well, Blinky. You'll probably recognize some of the plants in here from your problems that you've had from a few weeks ago, like you said, when there was the talking about the HLDV virus as well. I remember you said you threw something out then, so you probably recognise, oh look, there's that curl disease, or oh look, there's that chlorosis problem, or yeah. They're good photos though. All right, nearly there. 57, 58, there's the 2 minute mark. So I'll go and start. There's the share screen, good. This is what today's about. It's not a great deal. Although these pathogen ones are going to be the interesting ones. I'll skim through, I've put them out into posters so you can print them out into posters later on. So after I go through it all, I'll show them, and then you can like go back and screenshot and then save the file and print it out. But today, do I start on this page, I suppose? I like this photo because I thought this was pretty cool. For those people that are, this should have been under the job section, under the entrepreneurship ones. Just thinking about that, because graphic people can do up this and make it look funky. Look, T equals HC, it's pretty cool, isn't it? Instead of, what is it again? That E equals what? MC, oh, it's pretty, yeah, I like that. This is an Australian thing about Western Australia. That's actually, I'll go through it on the page itself, just some statistics that comes up. This is why it was outlawed in the first place. Yes, because back in the 1930s in the States, it was reefer madness, man, everything's going on, and drug crazed fools. Little do they know how medicinally beneficial it is. And I just like that because that looks pretty good. The go now is pretty much to grow the smaller plants. People are staying away from the bigger ones because of all the fungal problems and bud rot that you get. Yeah, and this is for all those people that, you know, like most of the Australian powers and be, they say, oh, we need more studies on cannabis. There's not enough being done. We're just not sure. And then my reply is, oh, there's been thousands. Oh, no, we need Australian studies to be done because they could be biased. But this is the scientific community. So for those people just to say that, they're just heavily opposed to it. And it's just sad. It's the easiest way I can put it. It's just blooming sad. Because so many people's lives are could be improved if the laws were improved. This was that other paper. I'll come back to that. Hey, my alien friend. I like the aliens. Ooh, see? He just says help wanted. I just like that. I thought it was pretty cool. Aliens looking for help in the covers, yeah, because probably they're around. It's very nice. That could be grown under the blurples, because the blurples do grow chunky numbers from what I've seen. I played around with the blurples for a few years. Hey, my mountain friend. Hello, mountain friend. I haven't done the news yet, mountain friend. Nearly into entrepreneurships. All right, we'll go through the entrepreneurships first, because there's some rad ones this time. And then I'll go back into the news. So thank you for all the people that support. I really appreciate that. It helps a lot. Canna jobs, entrepreneurship in cannabis. There's some real cool ones this week. This is for folk with cannabis lounges that want to start a cannabis lounge. Why wouldn't you? They got them all over Blimmin BC. Not sure about other places. These are some cool photos of some, just to show how cool. Why not? Smoke your medicinal cannabis, or in the ACT, they can just be open. It was legal there. Like in the ACT, I can go and show cops 50 grams and have 4 plants. It's just so rad. Look at this. Just nice, different layouts for the rooms, for different types of ones. We're all above board. And for those folk that don't live in the ACT, they can just have them for medicinal patients. So maybe medicinal patients can go there and be non-judged and smoke it. Yeah, hi to all the First Nations people. It's a good traditional one. So I went to one in Vancouver, and it was pretty rad in 2012. There's nothing like this though. These are pretty spiffy looking. I don't know if I'd encourage this bit. It's sort of religious, but anyway. Just I'm also showing the layouts and how cool they are, different types of ceiling paintings that you can do. I changed the wall art somehow. Excuse me, gee whiz. This is a rad one. That's what I like. Imagine even in here, you could have a contest on the wall, have this week's contest, and this one would be the contest one. So you let someone come in overnight and they could do their business, and then it'd be sweet. It's not a bad one too, isn't it? Very positive. Hey man, from the Caribbean. Yeah, these are ideas for your canna place. This is the show. I showed it a few weeks ago. I just thought it was interesting again. It came up, so I thought I'd put it in. People are labeling their things to call them hemp, even though this isn't called hemp. Gee whiz, I'm bad at English. People are labeling them hemp and having THC in it, and the powers aren't too happy. There's an idea too. Look, just CBD gummies. There's some cool chefs out there. You can get the CBDs legal pretty much everywhere now. Bang. Put it for top dollar. These things sell for like $2 a gummy. They're so low. 10 milligrams. Remember like that hair study? Last week it was only 3 to 4 milligrams. So it's so low is the effective numbers. This is some other ones too, some other brands that is familiar. And just to show their amount of, excuse me, milligrams they've got in it. These are relatively high compared to the last ones. You can see they're all about 400 per gummy. Oh, there you go. That's better. 300 milligrams, no, 30 milligrams each. That's what the whole packet contains. Ah, that's better. Cheese thing. That's interesting. Another restaurant one. Oh, this is pretty cool for all the tech folk out there. It's a biosensor that would be scanning the soil. just cruises along, doing its thing. And for the trainers or coaches or something like that, the UFC are getting into there, and quite a few actually other sports are getting into their CBD for all its anti-benefits. Well, on the topic of it, for your chefs and cooks, here's quite a few in one little image. What have they got there? 200, 400 per bag, probably 8 sticks, 500. There's some yummy stuff here. Like the sour one here. I can't see the other ones. Oh well. And for the people in North America, you can go to that website and there's heaps of jobs. Here we go. So these are the pictures that I'll go through, I'll show later on, so you'll be referenced on them. So I'll go into the, I should stop, see if there's anyone. Right. Hey, Nick Kelly. Yep, Splinky says, I'm really good. I threw them out as the rest escaped. I am, others are thriving. Oh, good. Nick Kelly, g'day, mate. How's it going? Yeah, that's great, but who wants to live in the ACT? Yeah, I know, it's too damn expensive, isn't it? Way, way blooming expensive, that place. All right, back to it. So I'll start on here, some slides. So some news this week, which I should have done at the blooming start. Some cannabis cafes and self-grown. Czechoslovakia has drafted up a new law to grow it and use it and have cafes. So the Czech government has presented a new draft and a bill in Parliament to propose legal cultivation, operation of cannabis clubs, licensed sales and exports and taxation. Wow. It also sets restrictions on production and sales, small growers, cannabis clubs. How cool. Just like it's happening at the moment in Germany, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Malta. Some other European countries that are going and legalizing it as well. What else does it go on to say? Anything else good? I think that'll do. Yep. Next. Oh, here's Thailand. This is Thailand at the moment. So if you walk down the street of Thailand, this is one of the streets you'll see, because things are changing, unfortunately, for Thai people, as they know. Yes, that looks pretty cool. How nice. See? Look, everyone's peaceful, friendly, no fights going on, heaps of taxation money being paid, heaps of money being paid on markers, banners, all sorts, tourism. Wake up, government. And this isn't really cannabis related, but I just had to put it in because I suppose it is, because you can, well, anyway, the Chinese firm has developed a nuclear battery that can produce power for 50 years. That's 50 years. It's just amazing. So that's how the UFOs get here. They got a few of these banked up and they just charge them up and then bingo. But yeah, so I just like that. It's pretty cool technology, so I got to include that. Next. Oh, here's the Western Australian thing. This is on some latest information from the Western Australia. So here's some stats. So medical cannabis that they got over there. Oh, and just all cannabis actually. So here it is. 78% of WA support decriminalising it. It's 1.7 million people support it. 37% have used it at least once before out of 800,000 people. 11% have used cannabis in the last 12 months, and that was 250,000 people. And there's the frequency bar graph of use, daily up to yearly. 16% use it daily, so it must be medicinally they need it, and it helps them with their daily functions of life. Population participation. Still, alcohol is twice as much as cannabis in that state, as polled on here. And tobacco is 15%. Geez, tobacco's pretty high. You know, tobacco, they charge, I think it's $1 a cigarette, something like that, Mum was saying, if you buy it by the carton. Consumption methods. Oh, yeah. So people, 30% like joints or blunts, 27% like to bong or pipe it, 20% have a tobacco mix. They put some spin in it. That's because it's so bloody expensive and hard to get. So to make it go a little bit longer, you put a little bit of spin into it. So if they made it more law-abiding, this number would definitely drop. And 18% their consumption method is edibles, 5% other. Where all forms of the plant are used, it just shows a pie graph of just the various numbers. And the next thing, last thing, is the economic benefit that it shows. Here's the monetary value of how much millions of dollars that it's going to raise and save. I got a really good conclusion for this. See, that's it. And it just goes on to talk about him, what he does and his past and stuff and how he's helping everybody. Where's the mention of health benefits? It's all about money. That's the thing that shits me in this country. Everything's about flame and money. Nothing that's going to help. How about the hospitals? It'll save people. The pharmacy. It'll save all this. No mention or even thought on it. No thought on it. Very, very sad. Next. The top 10 questions about cannabis law in 2024. And that's where that nice looking photo came from before. So ChatGPT answers some popular cannabis questions. So if you want to find out, is cannabis legal in my area? You'd have to Google it because there's heaps of different areas that watch the show. But in general, it is, because medically you can get it. What are the medical cannabis laws? Well, pretty much everywhere you can get it now. You just have to check. I'm sure you can. What are the legal ages? Yeah, well, it's everywhere on the planet. It's 21. And in a lot of other places, it's 18. Can I grow my own cannabis plants? Yeah, you can. But are you allowed to by law? You'll have to check your laws because, again, it's just the ACT. They're allowed to do it legally for 4 plants. Yeah, soon it'll be changed in Australia, hopefully it's soon. Talking bloody years. What are the possession limits for cannabis? Or in the ACT, it's 50 grams. You can show the police. So it's cool. Can I travel? Yes, you can. On airlines, it's sweet. And it's saying here in the States, you can't drive across borders with it. But here in Australia, you can just have your prescription thing. You can have it in your prescription barrel. Don't have it, smelly and stuff. Other restrictions where you can consume it? Not really. It says, just in general, as public places. Can I be fired for using cannabis at work? Yeah, you can. It sucks. You have to check with your blimmin' boss and your laws there. What are the penalties for cannabis-related offences? Well, at least it's getting a bit lower now. It used to be like $300 per person per tool. So you get like a few different tools and it'd be like $1,200 for 4 items. How are driving under the influence? Well, in the Tasmania and Victoria, I think you can do it now. But everywhere else in Australia, you're stuffed. You'd lose your license for 6 months if you got caught. I should see if there's any questions, Not really yet. That's all right. I have to get the plant pathology thing. That was the best bit. That's probably what everyone wants. Yeah, what's all this other right? Get to the rad bit. This bit. That's what they want. All right, I'll see if there's anything more on here. Oh, I was up to there. Okay, so this is it. So this is the name of the paper. So it's Challenges to Cannabis Sativa Production from Pathogens and Microbes, the Role of Molecular Diagnosis and Bioinformatics. So they've used these rad tools, PCRs, machines and stuff, to go and diagnose them to see exactly what it is. And it was released a few weeks ago. that just goes to say about the different tools and the 100 different virus and pathogens related to cannabis that they've found so far. The main ones here is the Fusarium, Pythium, powdery mildew, botrytis, and HLDV, hop latent virus, and the curly virus. They're the 6 main ones that they have in cannabis so far out of hundreds that's being diagnosed. And I've had all of them. So I'm going to go through these and each one, bring it up. I'd like to do it later on because then I can zoom in a little bit easier. So let's do that now. Yeah. In the stems is a really good way to, so if your plant's infected when you harvest, always do when you cut it off, do notice the stems inside of it. And you can see if you've got any browning like this, that means you've got an infection problem. Oh, that's pretty obvious. Browning, that's bud rot, start of bud rot. When you see buds that are very tight and high humidity, then the leaves might start to go yellow in the middle of them and everything else will be nice and green and healthy. Have a look why that leave's yellowing. And if you look closely in the middle, you'll see it's this. And it'll slowly grow fungus all over it. And that's the lab test that they've done. Here's the diagnosis of the leaves. This is the best bit. Gee, that's a nice image. Geez, I wish I knew this years ago. So this mottling. So the plant deficiencies are usually uniform. See, like here, it's pretty uniform. So you might say that's the opposite of nitrogen deficiency, because it's, but that's a bad example then. Well, this might be magnesium to the untrained eye because it's starting to yellow. So you might think, oh, look, there's a magnesium deficiency. That's all it is. There's no curling of the leaves. The leaf margins are fine. Everything's all right. And then you go and just do a foliar spray. You put 100 ppm of magnesium into a foliar and then spray it, and then notice within, it usually fixes up within a day or so. And then within a couple of days, if it still looks the same, you know it's not magnesium. That's how I diagnosed my problems. Then I had to look further. And because a good telltale sign is how it's not uniform. So see how nothing's just uniform at all. This might be a good leaf to be put in as a comparison. But see how it's just all over the shop. There's no uniformity, where deficiencies are pretty uniform. Here is it again. So there's a lot, you just have to really just notice each leaf segment and see what it's looked like. Excuse me. What's this one? This one was pretty cool. This is botrytis. Oh, this is the HLDV difference. Because hop latent virus disease, this goes into that a bit as well. So here's down here, it shows the fresh bud weight on the x-axis, no, the y-axis, and the x-axis is the gene. Oh, that's the different plants. So this is a few different cultivars that they got and tested, and that's the fresh bud weight. So you can see on the green is healthy, and the red has the hop latent virus. So even you can still cultivate and get the same yield as if it was healthy under that condition. So it's pretty scary, that one. But I've been through the hop latent virus enough, so I'm not going to really, I'm just going to let you know about that one. This is more on the HLDV again. I've shown a lot of these photos in the past, so look up the HLDV past episodes if you want, and I go into a fair bit of detail on that. It's on the PCR, it's diagnosed, and I'm not going to go into that either because we've talked about that in the past. This is more HLDV, showing its sporadic chlorosis. And you can see generally, good telltale sign, if you hold your fingers behind it, facing the ground, there's only 2 finger width. If that's the best you can get out of your finished buds, you've got HLDV. There's a high chance, because they should be at least 3 or 4 fingers wide, where this one's struggling to do that. Oh, but I'm not going to talk about that again because I've already talked about a hang of a lot. What's this one? Fresh bud comparison. Over HLDV again. Righto. You see how important it is. Oh, here's something different. Here's a curly top virus. This is the beet bee. So you might think you got a mutation in that. Wow, look at all the cool looking round segments. It's all pretty cool. That is uniform, but that's another virus. Curly top virus. I've had it like this, where it's just put out its canoes, and it looks like the leaves are hot all the time, but yet the temperature isn't hot. Because if I saw this, I'd just say, turn the heat down to someone, and they go, it's not blooming hot, and it'd be, ooh. You'd know that way. I'll use some more examples of it. How it's sort of canoeing, looking like it's hot, but it's not. Looking like it's hot, but it's not. See how that's more of a uniformity deficiency, and here it's not. It's a bit mottled, so you have to ask the question. Then that's trying to grow its new growth and development, but it's struggling. It's fighting a virus at the same time, so its growth and development is going wrong. And this was a test done on the seeds. Again, this is a HLDV, but this is a pretty brief thing, so I'll touch on it because it touches on thrips too, where they did a test on the thrips that came off the plants, and they found the thrips had HLDV virus too, so they are very good vectors of it. So if you see them on your plants, you'd have to ask the question, have I now got HLDV as well as the thrips? But this was done off the seeds, and they tested, so if you just get any random seeds and test them, there you can see the 4 strikes. The more wider bits, it tests positive for HLDV, these seeds, because it can be on the outside of the seed coats, as previously discussed. That's all for that one. Oh, this is just a stacked and chunky looking number. So this person has not got a pathogen or a virus. This person, this plant even. Most definitely, because its genetic potential has been expressed. Fantastic. I think that's all. That's all. Hey, hello, Lene. How are you? Lene says, good timing. I remember that study with the thrips. Yes, thrips aren't very good. I don't think you missed much. Just looking through some more slides to see what else I've got. Maybe I can show. There must be some more. Oh, that's right. There's another nematode one. So this isn't very exciting. But to show the reason why I like this one, is that right? Oh, this is where you get that study from, by the way, which I haven't really been through yet. So it's done in Canada, again. And this is the one just showing the one that I showed all those photos for. So I'm not going to go through it all because I've pretty much summarized it. The next one is on entomopathogenic nematodes. In other words, beneficial nematodes, or they put pathogens into insects and things, and they make them the host, and then they come out of it, like Bavaria bassiana, or what's the nematode? The reason why I looked at this. fungus gnats. If you got fungus gnats, you want Steinernema felti, those nematodes, those entomopathogenic nematodes, and that fixes it because it's, yeah, they've proven it. Like in this study, that's why I looked up this study to see if it was they'd have those in here, and they do. And look at when it's released, March 2024. Not bad, eh? There's the DOI if you'd like to have a look yourself. This isn't real interesting, but it just goes and proves and shows that a few bacteria and these nematodes can be symbiotic. I'm not even sure if there's any slides to look at, but I remember reading through it and thinking, cool. I didn't learn much from it, from memory. There's the term. Entomopathogen is the term commonly used in phytopathology and parasitology, which refers to the ability of a microorganism to induce disease and mortality in its insect host. And there's a graphical map showing the general distribution of entomopathogenic nematodes reported on a global scale. There's quite a few. I don't know about this in the middle of Australia in the desert. I've been out there. I lived out there for 6 months. But yeah, see, there's the Steinernema felti. It's the ones I've successfully used in the past. They work blooming excellent. Just brilliant. Because there was some substrates for a while there. They just constantly kept getting fungus gnats in them. And that's the way that you... So if that... What that company should have done is they should have gone and inoculated their piles with this beneficial nematode, and it would have fully got rid of it all. They wouldn't have had to put much in it either, because it really would have bred very, very fast. Because under ideal conditions like bacteria, there we go. I was just going to tell you, E. coli can populate the planet in 48 hours under perfect conditions. What's this say? So there's the worm, the nematode, and it penetrates in, and then it's infected, and it starts to breed inside of it, and then once it breeds, usually it kills the host, and it goes out and reproduces again. What's this? Oh, that's right. That's not really, this is not, I tried to relate a lot of things to medical cannabis and not pollute the agriculture. You know, I try to keep pretty medical cannabis related, and a lot of this stuff isn't related. So this is, I could probably nearly get off this topic now. I was hoping it was going to show something else that's interesting. Let's see if there's anything else. Insect penetration routes. See, yeah, you don't want to know all that. It's maps, it's molecular, it works. No, I don't know all that sort of stuff. Or do you? Please tell me. Where it stages under microscope. Live infestations. Other ways that it can actually, oh good, that relates to that other slide on the top. Sweet. Which might be down here, so I can, environmental factors, biotic factors. Let's go fast. No, that's it, good. Righto, that was that one included now. I'm not going to go into the others, I think. What else is there? You're still looking, yep. Oh, this one. This might relate to this one now. Oh, that's right. This was from another paper that had the nematodes in there too. So the root knot, or we just want Steinernema and resistance breaking. Okay. Oh, that's right. This was a climate change. Due to climate change, they are infesting a lot of new areas that previously weren't. So that's something to be aware of. In Canada especially, everything will be changing, all the outdoor environment and all the ground biodiversity in the northern, especially up in Alaska, up in the northern states, Washington area. I think that's about it. I think it is. Oh, and I'll go through. Did I show these? Yeah, these. Did I go through these yet? Yeah, I think I did before. So you can, yeah, print these out. Yeah, I did. I remember zooming in that way. So you can scale back if you've got problems. You can relate to these or print them out because it's so, I don't know. I've seen so many photos of people's plants that they're in clone stage and in baby stage and seedling stage, and they've got these types of symptoms, and they're professional establishments. And I haven't said anything because I'm sick of commenting and stuff now. I'm just really, over it all, to be honest. And it's going to be around for many years. And what was that? Actually, it was in this study. They tested, it said all of the 6 varieties came back with positive HLDV in Canada. Might be under this one. But they tested 6 different ones, and all 6 had it. So it's just showing that it's getting around. That's why the easiest way to seed your buds, if it's 2 fingers wide, it's got a virus in it. If it's 4 fingers, it hasn't. That's why I showed that big bud at the end. This one, so you can make sure it swells this much and looks nice and chunky. It's all good. Stop sharing. Back to this. Timing. Renee says a bit sleepy at the moment. Thanks. Hope you're doing well. Oh, I'm all right. Thanks. Hey, Mace. Nice to see you, mate. Hey, Big Will. Nice. Hey, Big Will. What's happening, Big Will? Look at him. He's smiling at the moment. Yeah, Big Will. That's the way. Just missed some pictures. Mace, if you go back through and print out some of these pictures for people that are interested in learning what leaves look like, if anything has problems with it. So that's really about the guts of today. Next week's going to be pretty cool. Oh yeah, drop your questions now if you've got any questions. But here, look at next week. Next week's rad. I think it's this one. Yes. This is the one where we look inside a virgin and see how they're contributing to the cannabis industry at the moment. And him too, look, Elon Musk, he lit up. That's all for next week. Oh my, that's all right. Well, I can talk about those. That's not the way I want to go. Stop sharing them. Oh no, we can go back to this one. Where was that one at the start? The one in Thailand. Yeah, this one's pretty good. This shows walking down the sidewalk in Thailand at the moment. So enjoy it while you can. Best way to say it. Actually, speaking of that, friend in Thailand, next week's show was, he titled that, so I hope you'll be tuning in for it. That's to do with feeding. So it's what time to feed, what amount, how to feed, what sort of program, how to work out your program for feeding, how to tell if your plant needs a feed at all, how to do it where you don't have to feed, where you can just give it water the whole time. That's the way to go organically, and just only, react to deficiencies. Oh, gosh, got them hiccups. All excited about all this cricket coming up. Righto. Stop the share. Hello, sayonara. Hello, is that sayonara? It's not how you spell it. So, hello, anyway. Hello, mate. Sayonara. It's FM. Don't know what FM means. Sorry. Here's a question. Is reverse osmosis water arguable better than other sources? Great question. Is it arguably better? No, because you don't know what source of water you have at the start with. So in general, it is, because if you don't know what it is, at least you know our reverse osmosis is filtering out all of the particles that could be harmful. So then you know it's good. But if you're in a area like in Lake Cowichan in BC, where the tap water used to be 35 parts per million, which is nearly, I think it is reverse osmosis between 0 and 50, because spring water is between 50 and 100. That's what the ppm range on that is. So if you live off grid, your bore might be fantastic, but it could be really, really bad too. Or I've seen it at a place that was 550 parts per million. So I had to use my reverse osmosis system on it, and it's a portable. I had a portable one at the time, and it clogged up within 2 weeks because it filtered out that much pollutants. Or it mightn't have been harmful ones, but they were just still pollutants. So it depends on the source, mate. If you've got a bad source, so the cheapest way to find that out is to get yourself a ppm meter, a little pocket ppm, $5 on your normal site that you use for buying things, and start testing your tap water and different water sources. Start testing, and then you'll start to learn what the numbers mean, and then you'll try and get your number low for drinking, and if you're feeding your plants too. So I hope that helps. I can go into a lot more detail with water if you want. Actually, I've still got 20 minutes left. I can go into a lot. Actually, I'll see what I've got a good section here on water. Oh, great answer. Cheers. Oh, okay. Oh, I'll still show it anyway. Unless you got another question, I can answer. Because water is it makes up. It's everything. Without that, the plant and us, we're gone. Like a plant's 70% water, like we are. So it's highly a necessity for a successful outcome. And you don't know what the ppm, to get into more finer detail of those ppm, you don't know what particular matter is. Like it might have a number of 15. You don't know what those 15 elements might be. So it could be harmful heavy metals, or it could be beneficial nitrogen, as an example. But in general, if things are surviving in that water, there's a pretty good indication that it's pretty healthy. And the nose. So if you smell your water should have no taste and no smell. It should just be wet. So if you smell it a bit, yeah, I'd like to know what that smell is. All right, let's see if I've got any, because not really, the questions aren't really flying through. So I've got a water section. Grow. Water. Flushing, root pressure. Water and life. Actually, next week was on the water thing, wasn't it? So I should probably go more into detail on that then. Actually, I will do that to save repeating things, because I don't really repeating things. I'm going to show this overall chart. Water and stresses, why you need good water, because otherwise your plant stresses out and it dies as well. Because water can carry things. Water can leach out all of your cations and anions. You get into that type of a scenario where your water has a slight negative charge, so it'll bind cations to it, positive charges. So once they're bound to water, it'll just leach it out wherever the water's flowing. It'll pull those elements out with it, like anything plus to it. Like But ammonium doesn't leach, so it's bound to. And I won't go into detail there, I'll confuse myself. That was another question. Oh, here we go, there is. Look at that. Sayonara's got the good questions today. Have you experimented much with moisture levels and where the best range to stay within is? Yes, I have. The moisture levels are key to the plant because it gets its oxygen from there, and oxygen is 10,000 times slower available for a plant's roots to come through the water than it is to get from the atmosphere. So having too much water in there can really suffocate the plant. So the watering is such a key thing, and that's what I'll touch on next week. I'll go into heavy detail about that, but I'll answer your question, and that's yes, a moisture meter is a really good thing to learn from. I'll show it next week. It's you get two different types, a resistive and a cation capacitive one, and it's, if you put into your search engine digital moisture meter, and it'll come up with this U-shaped probe that sits in the soil, because they only last about 12 months to 2 years, the probes, because they're constantly in the soil. So they're only they're $1.50 each, those little probes too. I've used one of those probes for many, many years, and it's fantastic. I say for more around flushing time now, because I've got everything fine-tuned, but around flushing time, you don't know if how roots have grown and how air spaces have been created in substrates to how much the moisture can be retained. So I find that really beneficial. And lifting the pot is also another thing about the moisture levels. Is the best way to tell too if you haven't got any probes, and it's also a good way just to learn. So everyone who wants to grow, they should lift it with 2 hands when it's wet, when it's at water field capacity, it's called, when it's reached its limit. So you'll know then how much water it can hold, and then you'll know when permanent wilting point is, the opposite end of it. And these are the 2 charts I'll be going through next week and showing why you should learn these limits. And at field capacity is when it's too much, so you don't want to go over that, and you want to learn that weight. So if it's only at half the weight, you'll know, oh, I don't need to give it much today to bring it up to field capacity. And then for permanent wilting point, the opposite end is once it gets into that, it starts entering stress phases and releases hormones that have cystic acid and things, and then that starts going into different plant growths. It gets off its plant growth and development and goes into activating its immune system. So it's really, really important. And what's the best range to stay within? Well, it's in between. They reckon that, well, for the plant to transpire, it needs a pressure. So it has to go from a lower pressure to a higher pressure, and then it's going to transpire and move water well. So for that to happen, there's always got to be a little bit of, what's the easiest way to quickly say it? It'll be well covered next week, but just to give a real quick summary, what's the best range to stay within? Oh yeah, you said awesome. Okay, what's the best range to stay within? Well, drip feeding is the best way to stay if you want to get the best out of it. And I'll show the different wetting patterns that's applied through the soil or your substrate when drip feeders are put in. And it's the roots will only go to a certain area and then they'll stop. So it creates a different root ball pattern. And it's very good for lateral branching, but I'll go through all that next week. But what's the best range to stay within is not above wilting point. So you've got to learn where wilting point is and what heavy the weightness of that pot is, and go a little bit above that, because that's when it's going to start to stress out, and you don't want it to stress. But you want to have a maximum oxygen in there too, so you don't want it to be up near field capacity, where it's just dripping over in water and very heavy all the time. So it's got to be in between and maybe on the lower side of it. But the problem with the lower side is it can easily slip into that stress to a very dry state just by a higher temperature or a lower humidity. So it's a bit of a fine-tuned thing. Oh, yep, another question. So there is no benefit to letting the soil dry out. Well, there is, just for the fact of learning your permanent wilting point. So once it dries out, that means different processes have happened in the soil too, and you need a wetting agent to really wet it back up and bind all those together. That come out a bit wrong. So there is no benefit to letting the soil dry out. Well, yes, yeah, it's a huge benefit actually because of oxygen. Because if it's moist, you'll have all the soil pores next to each other will have water in them. Having no air transfer, no gas transfer can happen. So it's really, really important. And if you are growing in living soil, which I hope you are, that needs to respire as well, because the microbes produce a hang of a lot of CO2, and that needs to go somewhere as well. So that can't be bound up in the substrates, where usually if you test it, it'll be higher than the actual surrounding air, and that's the reason, just for your microbes. So there's no benefit in letting. So yes, there is a huge benefit just for the oxygen amount, but you can't let it go too far into the wilting point, because that's when it starts to release its hormones, its abscisic acid, and goes into that phase. It's not good. I hope that helps. Please throw some more questions out. I'm happy to go for another 10 minutes of questions if you have any. And if these aren't helping us some more, and I can elaborate some further. Here's another one. Do you have any experience pumping air into soil? Only through air. Oh, I know they use air pots, etc. That's what I was going to say. Just through air pots, not through any types of pipes or tubing or anything like that. The air pots I've made are pretty rad, and the air pruning that happens, it creates a bigger root ball inside of it. So that was pretty helpful in creating larger, healthier plants. It sort of gives them a good chance in life. That's the way I used to use it. I don't use that system anymore. But the air pots were pretty cool. And they were easy to stack. That was because it makes up everything. Air, that's the plant has its 17 beneficial nutrients and a few 17 essential and a couple of beneficials. And the 17 essential, 95% of that comes out of the atmosphere, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So it needs great chance, the more it can get access to that, the easier it can get its nutrient requirement. Do I prefer standard pots or air pots? Well, it goes to whatever growing situation that you're going in. And I would use air pots if I was wanting to grow big, large mother plants, I suppose is a good way to put it, where I'd start them off as like that. So I'd start off with air pots, and then they just go on from there. It's probably a way where I would use air pots. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a problem with using the standard pots, because their roots would still grow and develop the way that they naturally should, especially from seeds, because seed is just really a taproot which goes straight down and then throws its lateral branches sideways. So that's not very beneficial for an air pot in that sense, because it would be looking more deeply, even though I've done it in air pots as well. But so do I prefer air pots? So no, standard pots are all right. Yeah, I suppose it depends which circumstance. Yes, I'll explain. I wonder if I got a picture of my air pots, because I quite like them, because no one else has made any of those that I saw. And they were just made out of your normal poly, your panda film. I haven't even made a video on them. Holy mackerel, that'd be an easy video. Just trying to see if there's any. Actually, one of my videos I've got, I made that's 50 plant automatic water dripper system. Here it is. Yeah, I'll share this. This is the air pots. Yeah, you can see them there. Present. Share screen. So they're the air pots that I made. So all it was just a A4 size fool's cap paper. I just traced it out, cut it out, wrapped it round, folded the end under, stuck it down with sticky tape, and got my soldering iron and punched holes in the sides of it. And then under the bottom, you punch your holes under the bottom and compress it with your fingers, and it melts it together. So it's all one unit. So you can wash them. So they're pretty cool. So yeah, that's one way where I really liked it. Growing some Big Death Bubba and Gorilla Glue in Canada. Oh yeah. Sayonara says, I've heard some strains produce best results with salts and some with LSO. What's your experience? Well, if you've heard that, those people need to be educated who have passed that information on to you. Because a plant's a plant, and it can get like a salt tolerant plant's called a halophyte. So if that has high above, say, 3,000 parts per million, that would be a halophyte. So that's, if it goes above, most plants, if they go above 2 or 3,000 parts per million, they'll show this different symptom in the leaves where it burns at the end like a potassium sort of symptom, and it doesn't work well. It's all to do with things, and plants can be definitely adapted to their conditions and their environments. So like people say that you can't, if you put a greenhouse seed that was raised, produced in the greenhouse, it won't suit outdoors or indoors. The only difference is that the greenhouse didn't have much UV in it because the UV has been cut out, so the plant hasn't been used to that, and it just handles it differently. But it can be adapted. And definitely over through epigenetics, through one or two generations, it can be definitely 100% adapted. So you can take things, cultivars from northern Canada, and easily raise them in outdoor middle of Australia, for instance. So yeah, they're those people that really say that you must grow their way, I think. Because I don't agree with that one, that some grow best with synthetics and some grow, well, what's best mean also? They mean that they're going to get a higher yield and they're all about money, or does it mean it's going to produce the best secondary metabolite profile and give the best medicine for the person, which is more healthy? So, yeah. I'm all about organics and bringing out the genetic potential of your cultivar, and it shows a fantastic secondary metabolite profile, which is very smelly and sticky, and that's what I enjoy doing. So you can do that through synthetics, or you can do it through organics. So there's a couple different ways you can achieve the same, well, not the same outcome, but a similar outcome. If you want to go into detail, it's the growth differential balance hypothesis. If you Google those words, it'll come up with an interesting read that shows you and tells you why. Yes, I hope that helps. So I don't like to be a know-it-all, but yeah, it's just a plant. So a plant, it's got its 17 beneficials, 17 essentials, and 2 or 3 beneficials. So it's just how it goes about its way to produce its flowers and get its outcome. That's a pretty good question, though. I appreciate all your rad questions. Say on Ara. Oh, homemade air pots. That's awesome. Yeah, it's got to save you money too, mate. Thank you for the nice support, Renee. LSO. I think they call it living soil organics. I don't know why. But anyway, that's what it stands for. Because anyway, all right. Sayonara says I've only got one seed of a strain. If it's a female, what can I do to keep the genetic line? You would want to clone it. So once it stays and you grow up for your 6-8 weeks, and then before you're going to flower it, depends how long you're flowering, veg stage is, because yield is equal to your vegetative stage. So you take a clone of it, or take 2 clones, and try and root it, and then you've got a genetic copy of that plant, but it has a little bit of epigenetics included in it. Like if you went through a bit of a hotter temperature phase or a lower drying phase through its substrate or something like that, that means that it's adapted differently. So it goes and slightly codes things a smidgen differently in the phenotype, and that's why as it goes through its generations, it gets used to different conditions because of that process of epigenetics. And another way to preserve the genetic line is, because each time you'll go through, what's that paper called? Growth balance, no. Genetic mosaicism hypothesis. And that's a really cool paper that says they do some experiments on where to clone a mother plant to maintain its genetic line. So they found that if you go and clone it, say, from the very top or the bottom, epigenetics has taken its effect and you're getting a different phenotype from the original one. But if you were to clone it in the middle, just beneath the middle to lower bit of the plant, there's only a 45% chance it'll transfer a epigenetics into it, which was the lowest. So if I was going to maintain the genetic line of a plant, that's where I'd be taking the cutting from. And if I wanted to preserve it, I would be inoculating it with some silver additive from the day that it's getting flipped. And I've got videos on how to do this. And then that will show its male parts, and then you'll collect them. And then the next time that it flowers, you will grab those male parts and sprinkle some on, and you've got a self-induced copy of itself that you can keep in your vault for a while. And if you store your seeds well, I can successfully get 3 years out of a seed, and I can get 5 or 6 years out of pollen. So if you store them both well, you can preserve your genetic line for a long time. And then say, for instance, down the track, like with Death Bubba, where those seeds now are 4 years old, so I'll be sprouting those and seeing if I'll make some more seeds out of it. Because I've got pollen from Death Bubba that's just been kept from a while ago, so I'd sprinkle some of that, which has all its genetic resistances into it, because I've gone and primed some genes in there, and then that will go on the new ones that will get sprinkled, so I'll have new seeds for it. So that's a way to forever preserve your line, I suppose, if you don't want to keep a mother plant. Because you can, that's a third way, I suppose, is by keeping a mother plant, and you just keep it in vegetative stage, and yeah, you always can go back to it and keep the center bit not cloned much. So when you want to start another mother plant in, say, 2 years' time, that's the area that you'll be taking your cutting from. So you can do that and keep your mother plant alive for however many decades that you like. And there's one friend I know he's in Canada. He's got his keeper, he calls it. He's had it for more than 20 years now, the same plant. And he just, every few years, you just reclone it and grow another mother and just do it that way. He says, of course. Yes, smiley face. Sayonara, how early in the flowering process can you pollinate? You want to do it at the start. So when about day 8 to 10 is when they'll start producing the anthers or the pistils. So actually, no, not, sorry, let me correct, not at the start. But you want to do it, anyway, it's about day 18 to day 20, because I found if you do it right at the very start, you don't get as much seed as you want, because you'll only have a handful of anthers or pistils that be produced. So if you wait for day 18 to day 20, you've got a nice little ball there, and then you pollinate. So you'll get your anthers, and you'll put one anther into your tweezers, and then you'll cut it in half over the bud that you want to pollinate. You'll do that for 5 anthers, and I get about 50 odd seeds from doing that from 5 anthers only. And remember, you get about 5 to 8 anthers per pollen sac or sepal. So it's there's so much pollen that can be used down the track by maintaining the male pollen. It's blooming excellent. How early? So yeah, and then you want to make sure that it pollinates, because it takes about 25 days to mature a seed. So if you go and manually pollinate at day 20, let's say, that means day 45 is the earliest time that can ever be picked. But if I was doing it, well, when I do it, I go 5 days over. So if my cultivar is day 60, it usually is around that, I'll take it to day 70. I like to go day 65 sometimes, but I'll always go as long as I can, day 65, day 70, as long as possible, just to make sure there's nicest, darkest tiger stripes seeds that come out, because its genetic future is in that. So I want to maintain and maximize its genetic outcome down the track, not have to do some sort of tissue culture and embryo rescue just to try and keep the genetic line alive. That helps. That was a good question. Yeah, 20 years. Wow. Yeah, his keeper that he's got, he's just kept it going and going. It's just amazing how some plants agree with some people. Once you find something that medicinally agrees with you, why not just keep it going forever and ever? You don't stress it out. It's just in nice conditions. It's pretty cool. Sayonara says, thank you for the answers and the stream. Last question, hash or flower? I don't mind all the answers. And save them up if you want, like for next week, because we've been running at I usually like to go for an hour. Sometimes it goes over. I don't mind. But save some for next week too, please, because I like these questions. And it retains my knowledge too, and I can pull up slides. Like I can really elaborate in some of these sections if you want to show more slides to let it sink in. Hash or flower was the question. Well, I used to be a hash connoisseur in the 90s. So I went and got that out of my system. I don't like talking about much about me. I loved hash, but ended up having a lot of it and didn't get sick of it, but just had so much that it wasn't as exciting as what it normally is or what it should be. There's like the keef. One thing about the keef, which no one really does, is you cure it and you put it in a glass container. It takes 6 months for the process. So you get one of those baby food containers from the shops and empty it out, of course, and and then you put your keef powder in that, and then it's got to be in a hot place, so above 35 Celsius or 100 F, and then you'll leave it there forever. And then each month you'll crack the jar and smell it, and then see if it's changed its state. And at month 4, 5, definitely on month 6, it's gone a peppery and not mildewy, mustardy. I can't even say the word right. Peppery and mildewy, mustery. Anyway, it's changed its state, pretty good, and you'll really notice the difference. And that means that the keef is cured. And then you can go and press the keef powder and turn it into your hash, and then it's different again. It's very, very smooth, and yeah. So I did that a fair bit, and yeah, got it out of my system. But in general, the hash is good for preservation, because it'll last longer than 3 months, which the bud lasts. It's, oh, there you go, musty. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. A musty, and yes. So yeah, generally the bud lasts 3 months, and then it'll change its secondary metabolite profile, and the THC will age. So the medicinal properties are gone, or very much been reduced. So if you put it into your hash, in that process, it doesn't really change as quickly. It'll still change, but it might take even years stored in the right condition. And if you can make it thick, the center bit will retain a lot of its medicinal properties of its original. Like when you'll crack it open, it will smell really nice. It'll still get the original flower smell that it should be smelt like. It might be mild, but you still get it, and that can be lasting for a very long time. I've had some really nice black looking, awesome, yeah. So yeah, hash is all right. I still don't mind it now, I suppose. It's a few years ago I did that. But in general, the flower is better because it's quicker. I like the different cultivars, so you can see the different chemical profiles that you get out of them. And I try and retain that. So the key is whatever it smells like on the plant, when you smell it in your fingers, that's what you want to be tasting when you exhale your breath, for a perfect cure and harvest, for a perfect dry and cure after your harvest. And I do that about 20% of the times. And yeah, it's just the art is, it's 8 growths, it's 8 processes to have a good outcome is got to be adhered to. One stage gets missed. Renee says just excellent. Sayonara says it blows my mind when we get 2-year-old flower on the medical system and not hash in Australia. The medical system, if you buy the cheap stuff, it's extra aged, and it might give you a dry throat and hurt your throat and give you head hits, prefrontal lobe hits at the front of your head. You might get little sore bits there, and that's because it's lost all its medicinal properties, and it might have picked up some bad properties like too dry. So when we smoke it, it hurts your throat and it dries it out more. So the Australian medical system is shit. I can positively say that. If you've got a lot of money, you're going to get really good medicine in the Australian way. But anybody below that is going to struggle. You might get buds, and it might be better than street buds. It's still shit medicinally, though. There's so much education that needs to be picked up in every sector in Australia. And it's just the only way I can think. It's just sad. It's a real pain in the ass, to be honest, in Australia, mate, because from what I picked, I lived in Canada for 5 years, and the difference is just chalk and cheese. And what I learnt over there to what is going on over here, it's just shit. I don't want to start about politics and stuff. Renee says, I've personally loved both, but also depends on the quality of flower. Hash can be more of a concentrate form of THC, but flower will always be my first love. Oh, yeah? Thanks. Other people should be throwing their comments in too. Yes. Thank you for your input, Renee. Hello, Dave, 23 stack. And he goes to say he went out, found a plant with the top leaves curled inward, otherwise healthy? Question mark. You'll have to reword that, mate. I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. Can you reword that a bit, mate? That size, yes. Okay, thanks. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's very expensive. I'm not sure what Dave was saying, but if you've got leaves that are curling, it might have a virus or a fungal, that BT leaf curl virus, or it could be too hot. So if it's been in a condition that's really hot, I'd go with that one first and eliminate that. Oh, here we go. It may be just the weather. Afghani land race about 2 feet. Oh yeah, okay. So you're saying what's the top leaves on a plant if they just curled inwards and it was otherwise healthy? I think that's how you. So if the plant is healthy and the leaves curled inwards, what happened? Okay. They could have that virus, or it could be a temperature thing. The leaves, well done for reading the leaves firstly, because it's going to tell you everything about it. I've always wanted to put out a book on just medical cannabis leaves and just the indications that you can get off them and what the possible outcomes can be, because it's so, like, just the deficiencies. Well, there's 17 just there. And then the different viruses, there's different ones for different viruses. Fusarium wilt, like it'll wilt first. So there's HLD, there's all just different, so yeah, but good luck, good on you for just saying for looking at the leaves for starters. And then I reckon I'd eliminate the heat first. So you can go down, and if it's in veg, you can go and mist it, get a spray bottle and put some water into it. Make sure the water's good, like we've talked about, good water, and water that you drink, and then put water in there and then mist it. And then do that. Only make sure that the water droplets don't get big enough where it drops off. So if you've got where water droplets drop off, that's too much, because that means it's a waste. And you might do that for the next few days and see if the conditions improve. You could do that depends, once it dries off, you could remist it again. So, and keep it, because that would depend on your humidity and your temperature. So if you're going through a real hot phase, you might find it's just gone into that stress phase where it's showing that through the heat and canoeing that way. Call that canoeing if it's for heat. Oh, it just curled today, okay. Slight curling inwards, looks like silver. Looks a little silver on the underside. Okay. So it's a slight curling inwards. Yeah, I reckon that, mate. Just give it some water in a spray bottle that you drink and mist that for a few days. And if it improves, it does. If it doesn't, it's got a virus. And you should definitely, if you're experienced, you can start and give it a lot of biofertilizers and bioinoculants and try and eliminate it that way, and hope that it'll help with its immune system to overrule it. And if not, you want to separate it if you've got it next to anything else, because the other ones will get sick, and struggle on. Just learn like everyone else has to learn. We're all going to go, we've all been through this area, and it's just a good learning curve, mate. And for you to look to see that you've even noticed these symptoms, you're going to have a success. Oh, thanks. Oh, good. So it must have helped then. Ray says that's Not a terrible price. Just talking internally. That's good. Dave says, I reckon you're spot on. It's been hot, drying weather, although I thought I had watered well. Yes. So that's what it is. You're getting the conditions, because it might be the water that might be, you've watered it well enough, but that's in the rhizosphere. And it might have been once the humidity is really extra dry, that means it'll pull water from the roots faster. So if it's extra hot and extra dry, it can really reduce the amount of water that's in the rhizosphere right next to the roots. So yeah, you could, and it's hard to know that. So that's why the leaves tell you first, and you can eliminate that symptom by the spraying it. Put a sprinkler on. You might want to get a sprinkler out there through the day and put it on a timer for, I don't know, every hour it comes on for 10 minutes or something like that, and have that cycle on from sunrise to sunset, or even just come on for 5 minutes or 3 minutes, just enough to, wet it, get some water around the area. Oh yeah, if it's a virus, I'll pull it. Yes. Yeah. Because with the virus, there's not much. You can try and fight it and things, but inevitably, it's easier to start again. And that's one of the benefits of putting plants in pots, or especially if you got from a new genes pool that you haven't used before. So if you bought seeds from a random source, or if you got seeds from not your mate or someone like that, even from your mate, if you've got to put them in pots and then keep them isolated from anything else, so that you can see these symptoms. Because now that the HLDV's prevalent, it's only a matter of time, I think, before everybody gets it. I've battled with it for at least 12 months, so I know all the symptoms and the ins and outs, and the extremely low yields you get. Extremely. You think, oh yeah, this is a 1 or 2 ounce plant, bang, you get 5 to 7 grams. Cop that. Bang, back on the medical program. Oh yeah, great. Way worse. Might as well smoke the leaf. There. Anything else I say? Hash might be the better choice if the flower is aged and the cannabinoids have Hey, that's a good point. Yes. So if you can get, like in the Australian medical system that's really poor, if I had another option to go through, and instead of getting those $200 ounces, those cheap indica lines, indica med ones, I would probably look at see how cheap the hash was. But I remember it's not too cheap. So, actually, I don't know. I don't want to quote prices. But yeah, that's a good point for if you want about quality as well. Thank you for adding that. What's Dave say? Dave 23 Stacks says, best wishes to me. Thanks for your help. Oh, you're welcome, mate. Yeah, tell us next week if it worked or not. It'll be good to know. And then if it's not, we might be able to try something else. And get your biofertilizers ready. Get your inoculants because remember, good soil has 50% of pathogens as well as goodness in it. I was amazed when I learned that in one of my soil classes. So they're there. You just want to maintain the plants in good health so it can not be susceptible to those. It puts out all sorts of different terpenes and volatile organic compounds to eliminate it from those types of harmful things. Like you'll notice your sick plant will only get attacked when it's sick. All bugs and all sorts of things go to it because it can't produce enough volatile organic compounds to warden off and produce the things that the other plants are putting out at that time. All its growth and development has gone back into its immune system instead of its growth and development, or protecting itself and doing its normal practices. Plants are so rad, aren't they? Once you can work with them, and it's just so fun, and the benefits you get out of it, holy mackerel. The government can't even give us stuff that gets out of these blooming plants that they try and produce, that they try and contribute with. It's just excellent. It's fantastic. Wow, nearly an hour and a half. These questions have been great. Well, can you please save some questions for next week? Get some more, Dave, and to sayonara. And if you're here next week, I'll monetize you both as well, because I appreciate your help. Because, yeah, this has been really good. Because next week we'll be going extensive detail about watering and when and why and how and that sort of stuff. That'll be, yeah, full on then. So that'll probably help as well, just to add on to what today's is. I wonder if I can nearly rename today's topic. There's a few good questions, wasn't it? Don't mind doing that. Very nice. Well, I'm showing that video. So, what else can I show or share? Anything else? Oh, yeah, good luck. Good content, mate. Thank you. Thank you. I try. Well, I try and keep it nice and simple and easy, and then try and get the technical papers in there so you can make your own decisions of the papers. Then because I study at university, starting again soon in a few weeks, so I just keep all those slides. So I've got thousands of them. Just can share at will, stacked neatly. All right. Well, I hope to see everybody here again next week. It's been really enjoyable, and you folk made it enjoyable. That's really good. Keeping the good energy flowing, you are. So I hope it flows into your day and nights as well. And you have a fantastic day and night. I'm going to watch the cricket, so it's going to be blimmin' excellent. Woohoo! I like the cricket. Yes. Peace and love. Cheers to sayonara. Lene says, yes, good show today. Thank you. Glad I caught it in time. Yes, glad you did too. Well, thanks again, everyone. Appreciate your ears and your content as well with the messages. Good stuff. Keep up the good work. And I hope to see you again next week. Happy breeding, happy growing, and good health to you all. Bye-bye.